Ladies and gentlemen, from an undisclosed location in Portland, Oregon, the spare bedroom, it's time for MTG Tonight with your host, Jake Boss.
Tonight on the program, we are going to be talking to my good friend Adam Lazar about 5-color, Child of Alara, Enchantress, God, Tribal, and later on we're going to be joined by Kane and Zabel brothers, and they're going to be playing a little bit of music for us to take us in and out of commercial break, which is really just 2 seconds of black. So without further ado, please welcome, through the magic of television, Adam Lazar. Adam, have you ever been VFX into a shop before?
Yes, actually I have.
Really?
Yes, I used to work in an audio-video lab in Manhattan, Children's Museum of Manhattan.
Like, were you on a video toaster? Or
Yeah, exactly.
You're
video
kidding.
Toaster. Not kidding at all.
That's when I was born, is when the video toaster came out.
Yeah, I'm a little older than you, Jake.
So tell me more about this collection. What's
Sure.
the motivation? Is there an end game?
So I'm a completionist, so there is an end game.
Okay.
I eventually want to, once again, have one card of everything.
So you want the game to die. So then
No, I want it to actually keep
eventually
going.
have everything.
I want it to keep going, but I actually want to own everything.
If you're talking about anything from Shadows over Innistrad forward, I'm your guy. What do you need, a Dauntless Cathar? I got you.
Yeah, I'm sure. Big stack.
Yeah.
But no, the collection that I have now, I actually built it to play with friends. I have multiple cubes, some of which you've played.
Yes, pack one, pick up my pack, and I'm like, okay, Liliana the Veil, Aether Vial, this is at least, like $1,000 in my hands in pack one.
In 15 cards, yeah.
Yeah.
The reason that cube is built that way is because I currently have a lot of friends who never got to play with cards of that caliber.
Me.
Yeah. So I wanted to have that experience for them. When I was first playing the game, we all had those cards. Nothing was shocking to them. So letting a friend open up a pack and see a Black Lotus in there.
Yeah.
And of course, I only play that cube with people I trust.
Yeah, exactly.
But the point is, I have a lot of friends who are really into the game now who've never held these cards before. And you're not worried about, well, I have to take this card because it's valuable.
Right.
Because
don't
you're
have to
playing a
money
cube.
draft.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The gaming store became the center of my social community.
Yeah.
And people started looking to me to trade cards to me.
I'm one of those people.
Yeah.
Like, when you go to a pre-release, if you open a promo card, if you're not going to play it, leave it in the pack, because Adam's going to want it.
That's right. I collect sealed promos when I can. A couple of recent sets, I couldn't do sealed promos, because Dominaria had multiple cards in the pack,
Yeah.
and
Ravnica.
Guilds of Ravnica had multiple cards in the pack. So people would open them. So
Yeah, it's just not reasonable anymore.
it's not reasonable. But when it is reasonable, I go after the sealed promos. And I've got friends now worldwide who actually, some of them run stores and the like, and they help me collect these. They gather them together and they'll ship them to me.
Sometimes it's all about the people. Other times it's all about the cards.
That's right.
Something about you that I really enjoy is a lot of people will show up on Tuesdays for Standard. Mm-hmm. And they won't have a deck with them. They've just come from work. And we go to you because Adam never rolls with just one deck.
That's right.
There's always a second Standard deck in case somebody needs it.
That's right. A second standard deck. I usually have play mats, dice, whatever people need. I want people to play the game. I collect a lot of sealed product. Things like Master Series boxes and things like that. And I'm not hoarding it for value. That's sometimes part of it. If something gets really expensive and I need some cash, I'll definitely sell something off. But that's not why I have it. I have it so that my friends who aren't competitive in nature and don't want to go to a draft full of spikes or pay $40 to draft a Masters set can come over to my house and have a nice casual draft in a format that they wouldn't otherwise ordinarily experience.
Like 4-way two-headed giant.
That's
a
right.
really frequent one for us.
Yeah.
I think probably 90% of the things that I talk about with, say, you or the Jones family is in-game,
Mm-hmm.
But it's the way that we speak to each other that makes it feel good and makes it feel
Yeah.
worth it. And I'll come home and tell stories to Ashley and like, Adam did this and then I did that and I actually got him in game 2, but then game 3 he slaughtered me. But
Magic tends to be the subject of a conversation, but not the purpose.
yeah, it's a language.
Yeah.
It's a creative language. But so as a collector, you have all of these assets. to be combined in any combination.
That's right.
And when it comes to Commander, you know that you're bringing the heat.
No, I don't. But people
Really?
keep telling me I do.
When we come back,
Yeah.
we're going to discuss Adam's 5-color Enchantress deck. Well, Enchantress God Tribal deck.
God Tribal. It's Enchantress.
More God Tribal.
Yeah.
Don't touch that dial. Don't skip ahead to any time codes because we're going to be right back.
I ain't gonna die on Powell. I ain't gonna die on Powell. Got a place to go, you might find Howl. I ain't gonna die on Powell. Calling me away. Perhaps we'll meet again someday. Lord, I hope so. I can't stay.
We are back, and we are talking about 5-color Child of Valara, God Tribal with Adam Lazar. Adam, so how did you come about this strategy? What is the strategy? What is this deck? How many different archetypes can we make it?
Oh, it can be every archetype except
sounds
maybe
like it.
aggro.
Okay, so non-aggro and Commander, that makes good sense to me.
There's combo in here. There's group hug.
Like, I can't wait to see the group hug part of it because I've never seen that. I've only seen the mid-range.
The group hug part is mostly it's not a lot of friendly interaction, but it's a lot of I'll sit back and not do anything.
Okay.
But prevent you from hurting me.
Some more pillow fort.
Pillow fort. That's the archetype. Thank you. So I came about this deck. I needed a commander deck for an event that a friend was having for social networking.
Okay.
In my line of business. Prior to having this deck, I didn't really play Commander. As I said before, I have a hard time wrapping myself around the 99 card constructed environment. So my very good friend Chris Tabor helped me build a deck under a few constraints.
Okay.
The constraints were that I didn't want a very spiky combo, kill everybody all at once, nothing you can do about it deck. And I didn't want a deck that did nothing and lost within the first few turns. I wanted to be able to play the game so that I could talk with people, get social, and still be in there, and even have a chance to win.
So you have the nuke button in your hand, but you're not using it because it's a social environment. We want to
Right.
play.
Right.
Okay.
The idea was not to win, but to play longer.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. A lot of Commander games are like that.
Yeah. And this deck does a really good job of it, and I was really surprised. I've played the deck in competitive one-on-one, and it actually held its own really well.
Nice. So like actual CEDH? Or?
Yeah.
Wow.
Actual CEDH events, and it actually held up. The core of the deck is 23 gods.
Okay. So that's close to all of them. Which ones did
That
make
is
the
all
cut?
of them, actually.
Is it?
That is all the gods.
Well, okay. I stand corrected. I figured we'd have 15 and then
No,
the
there's
Amonkhet's.
15 and then 5 from Amonkhet and 3 from
Hour of
Hour of
Devastation.
Devastation. Gives us 23 gods. And that necessitated it to be 5 colors.
Right.
Originally, the commander of the deck was just an afterthought. It was meant to be Progenitus.
Okay. And so why the change?
Well, I made that change myself after working the deck, playing it a couple of times, and making a few changes to the core. The gods themselves all have this hatred for going to the graveyard. They're indestructible, they're not creatures, they return from the graveyard, all sorts of things. So when I was looking at options for commanders, I came across Child of Alara.
So Child of Alara, it's one of every color, so Wooburg. It's a legendary creature avatar with trample. When Child of Alara is put into a graveyard from play, destroy all non-land permanents. They can't be regenerated. It's a 6/6, which I'm sure comes up all the time, power and toughness.
It actually does,
Does
because
it?
when I want to turn off the game, when I want to end the game, I cast my Child of Alara, and I'm basically daring my opponents to block me.
Okay. So is that when you're like, okay, this game needs to end?
Either the game has gotten out of hand and I need to reset, I need to end the game, something needs to change. It's gotten too stagnant. Okay?
And we've all kind of reached that point where it's like, all right, who's going to handle the possibility storm or the Teferi's puzzle box or
Right.
whatever? like, this game's got to go somewhere. But, okay, so you started with the gods first. Mm-hmm. And then went into...
After we got all the gods together and I decided I was going to play all of them, I had to come up with ways to actually find the cards that I need at any given point in time. So I went for a few tutors. Seeing that the gods were legendary, the first thing that came up was Captain Sisay.
Okay, so Sisay, 2 green white creature, search creature legend. I assume she's a human.
Yeah.
Human something or other. Tap, search your library for a legend or legendary card. Reveal that card, put it into your hand, then shuffle your library. She's a 2/2.
That seemed an obvious include. It lets me find any god at any point in time, as well as several of the other cards that I have in the deck.
And all the gods are so different that it's kind of a toolbox.
That's exactly right. Whatever the situation may be, I can dig up the card I need. Are we in a situation where everybody's pillow forted and I can't attack for any profitable margin? I'll toolbox up Phoenix, which is one of the gods that lets me mill.
Okay.
Do I need to do something more direct? I can get Perforos so that when I create creatures, they deal damage to everybody. Things like that. But I don't have combo pieces to go with these to make the game just end suddenly. That was one of the things I didn't want to do with the deck.
Okay. So with this particular deck, you can sit down and have 13 different games, depending on what you see across the table.
That's right.
So that's definitely cool. If you're going to have just one commander deck, it's a pretty good one to start with.
Yep. The next piece for tutoring was a little more difficult to track down. It was an Academy Rector.
And what does that do? When Academy Rector is put into a graveyard from play, you may remove Academy Rector from the game. If you do, search your library for an enchantment card and put that card into play, then shuffle your library. And obviously, the Theros gods are enchantments.
That's right. Additionally, since they are enchantments, since you brought that up, the next tutor I have is Enlightened Tutor.
So a tutor for artifacts and enchantments.
That's right. And then occasionally I'll need to protect them or tutor, so I have Sterling Grove.
Giving all of your enchantments Shroud?
Hexproof.
Hexproof. Okay.
Is it Hex? Wait, I'm sorry.
I think it might be Shroud.
You're correct. It is Shroud.
And the
which
difference
doesn't
being...
matter to me. The difference being that I can't target them myself.
Right.
But I never want to in this deck anyway.
So you can't giant growth your god.
Oh,
too
shame.
bad.
What a shame. I also have a catch-all of Vampiric Tutor, because I
Right.
have plenty of cards in here that aren't enchantments. The deck can be a little bit slow, so I included a few cards to help me stay alive and maybe get ahead.
Okay.
Things like Sphere of Safety. I have enchantments.
Classic Pillow Fort.
Yep. And Ghostly Prison.
Yes.
And Propaganda.
Another Ghostly Prison.
Another Ghostly Prison. Rhystic Study is one of my favorite cards. Any game where I can cast that on curve, I'm generally doing really well.
Yeah. That card is nasty.
Yeah.
Like, just making your opponents pay to just play the game.
That's right.
Sorry.
And because that card fills my hand so much, I added in Burgeoning, so I can get rid of the extra lands in my hand.
So I skipped over this one, but Rhystic Study, whenever an opponent plays a smell, not a smell.
A smell?
Whenever they play a spell, you may draw a card unless they pay 1. So it's always rounding the table like, oh, do you want to pay the 1 for that, or am I going to draw my card? Mm-hmm. And then Burgeoning, it's an enchantment for 1 green. Whenever an opponent plays a land, you may put a land from your hand onto the battlefield.
So that combination lets me get way ahead. I actually have 2 more cards that play right into that. Prismatic Omen.
1 and a green enchantment. Lands you control are every basic type in addition to their other types.
So they all produce all colors of mana, as well as a Chromatic Lantern.
So they all tap for mana of any color, and so
Correct.
does the lantern.
As for my mana base itself, it's expensive.
I kind of have to be.
Kind of have to be.
10 to 10.
It is mostly a green-white deck besides the gods themselves. So there's plenty of forests and plains with the occasional swamp, island, and mountain. But beyond all that, I have one of each fetch land
Right.
and one of each dual land in the deck. The fetch lands are more important than which dual lands you choose.
Is that right?
Yeah.
So, unfortunately, the BFZ ones, they've only got, ally colors.
Correct.
And then Amonkhet was the same ones.
Yeah.
Same ally colors. So, if you're looking for budget,
You got to delve into the shock lands at the very least.
so obviously picking up those enemy shock lands, white, black, and whatever is across the color pie is the place to start. Mm-hmm. And then picking up the others after you've started with BFZ or whatever, it's going to be a far cheaper solution.
Yeah.
But there's nothing cheap about 5-color.
No, there really isn't. 5-color, you're all over the place. You've really got to balance your mana towards whichever fixing you're using or whichever cards are more prominent. Like in my deck, the green and white are much more prominent than anything else. So my basics are almost all forests and plains.
And it's because we have a lot of Sigil of the Empty Throne, a lot of double white.
That's right.
Okay.
That's exactly right. And because the white mana is so relevant, I actually have one other land that's very important to the deck, though it doesn't fix the mana at all. It's a Serra's Sanctum.
Okay, so it's a legendary land. It taps for 1 white for each enchantment you control.
Yes. Usually it's at least 3, if not more. I've tapped that for upwards of 10 mana.
Wow, okay.
The reason it's so relevant is because out of this package that I've shown you so far, my only real win conditions are the token makers, Oketra the True and Heliod, God of the Storm.
So Oketra is a double strike vigilance. I'm trying to do it from memory here. She's indestructible. Oketra the True can't attack or block unless you control at least 3 other creatures, and then for 3 and a white, create a 1/1 warrior with vigilance. Mm-hmm. Obviously, vigilance is super relevant in our format. And then Heliod, God of the Sun, 3 and a white, legendary enchantment creature god, indestructible. As long as your devotion to white is less than 5, Heliod isn't a creature. So each white in the mana cost of permanents you control counts towards your devotion to white. Other creatures you control have vigilance, and 2 white. Put a 2/1 white cleric enchantment creature token onto the battlefield. That's fat.
It's another enchantment. So every time I create one of those, it actually feeds that, making it possible for me to make more quickly.
So I have to ask, the Enchantress sub-theme.
Yeah.
Were there any cards from Commander 18 that caught your eye and you're like, this has got to go?
There are, and I'm not talking about them yet because I haven't put them into the deck yet. The deck actually struggles to win in its initial incarnation, just like this, which was kind of the point. It wasn't meant to be a winning deck. But as I played more, I decided, okay, I needed a package in here that does let me win the game. And that's when I started delving into the Enchantress package. So adding things like Mesa Enchantress, Argothian Enchantress, Viduran Enchantress, and Enchantress's presence that let me draw cards for every enchantment I play seemed obvious.
And they're all pretty much the same effect for different mana costs.
That's correct.
Play an enchantment, draw a card.
That is correct.
So what about Eidolon of Blossoms?
So Eidolon of Blossoms is actually in there as well.
Okay, perfect. I was going to be concerned for a second,
Yeah.
But
And that one just sort of stacks. It gets pretty ridiculous. I've come very close to decking myself with these cards.
yeah, whoops.
Yeah.
Hey, if it happens, it's worth it.
I have been known to turn Phoenix on myself.
And what is Phoenix?
Phoenix is one of the gods. His ability is you may tap creatures to mill a target player for a number of cards equal to that creature's toughness.
Okay.
So I'll end up milling cards off of my library into my own graveyard. Because of 2 cards that I play that actually end up being my most powerful win conditions. Starfield of Nyx and Replenish.
Okay. So Replenish is going to be 3 and a white. Return all enchantments from your graveyard to
the battlefield.
And then Starfield of Nyx, 4 and a white enchantment. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may return target enchantment card from your graveyard to the battlefield. As long as you control 5 or more enchantments, each other non-aura enchantment you control is a creature in addition to its other types and has base power and toughness equal to its converted mana cost, which is a lot like Opalescence.
Which I also play as backup, but I actually prefer Starfield of Nyx.
Right, because of the added effect.
Pulling it out of my graveyard. Now, what Starfield of Nyx and Opalescence do is they actually turn on my enchantment-based gods even when they're not, when I don't have enough devotion. So I can start attacking with them for power and toughness equal to their casting cost.
Right.
And they maintain any abilities they have, such as Vigilance, Double Strike, what have you.
And if they have Shroud...
on top of that...
So, since this is a global effect and not targeting, it gets around Shroud.
That's correct.
Okay, so now you have this shrouded board full of fatty creatures.
Indestructible fatty creatures.
Indestructible fatty creatures. You're making more with Heliod and Oketra. Mm-hmm. So now what?
So, at this point, people are going to do whatever they can to annihilate me.
Right.
So I have to be able to turn off the game. That's when I start looking at casting things like Child of Alara.
Right.
Because if you're going to wipe the board, you're going to wipe her too.
So if I'm playing a Merciless Eviction on you, which I have gladly done before.
Yes, you have.
Or if somebody's going to rift you, do you have any counter package or anything like that?
I do not. And I intentionally don't.
Okay.
Again, I built this deck with the intention of not being a spike with it.
And the interesting thing about that, to me, are the tutors. Because in this case, it's different than if I'm going to pack my combo deck full of tutors. In this case, it's more about being selective.
That's right.
So maybe you're tutoring for Sigil of the Empty Throne or Starfield of Nyx or whatever it may be as your win con. But
I'm not tutoring for answers to what you may be doing to me.
Right. Instead of making it not fun, it's more about reaching into the toolbox.
That's exactly right.
And grabbing something to have some fun.
I think of it more as playing a mid-range constructed deck. The tutors allow me to find my toolbox creatures.
To match the playstyle of you as a regular player.
That's right.
Standard. And...
in Modern, my favorite deck is Kiki Cord, which is a similar style deck where you tutor up cards that are pertinent to the current board state.
And I think eventually I'm going to bring you back to talk about that because I remember when I was learning Modern, you were telling me that you could basically have a master class on Kiki Cord because you played it for so long.
Yeah.
So
I didn't invent it or anything like that, but I played it for as long as I could, even when it was bad.
I mean, people didn't invent cars, but they can be great pilots and
That's
drivers,
right.
So tell me about any other win conditions.
Well, you keep mentioning it, but I hadn't pulled it out yet, and that's just Sigil of the Empty Throne.
I like to make some angels when I cast my enchantments.
That's
what do you
right.
want? 3 white. Whenever you cast an enchantment, put a 4/4 angel onto the battlefield.
And speaking of angels,
Avacyn.
the biggest angel.
Yeah. 5 white, flying vigilance. Avacyn, Angel of Hope, and other permanents you control are indestructible.
That's right. And I play a very small handful of planeswalkers.
Okay.
I play Liliana Vess as another tutor.
Okay.
I play Xenagos as mostly a way of producing mana or creatures early. Tameo is a way of drawing cards.
Yeah.
And Nicol Bolas as a win condition.
How are you winning with Nicol Bolas?
So his plus ability lets me cast my opponent's spells.
Instead of just regular card advantage, you're taking their answers.
That's correct.
Pieces of their combo.
Pieces of their combo, their amazing fatty creatures, their great enchantments, whatever it is. Dropping him usually is a back-breaking event because they've spent so many resources just trying to knock me back. The couple times I've been able to ultimate him with the -12, that's just game over.
Yeah, that's a scoop. But if you're someone like me, I'm going to make you play it out.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
That's pretty much the whole deck.
Yeah, it is.
It's a solid, fun, toolboxy deck made out of a serious collection. When we come back, we're going to be joined by Kanan's Able brothers. Big thank you to Adam Lazar. We'll be back.
Wandering from town to town, that's the way I want to be. Deserts, mountains, prairies, seaside, there's so damn much to see. Good people are all over from from campgrounds to beer halls.
We are back, and to close out the show, please welcome Canaan's Able Brothers.
Harvest what you need. I've got mouths to feed, back rakes to slake men's greed. There won't be nothing left. I've traveled a long way for very little pay, and to death gods I pray, don't work me to death. I've been working in the sun all day. I've been working in the sun all day. I've been working in the sun all day. There won't be nothing left. Folks don't want me here. Their hearts are full of fear. I'll take what they hold dear. I won't leave nothing left. But I'm just here to toil. My hands are in the soil to help and not to spoil, so you don't starve to death. I've been working in the sun all day. I've been working in the sun all day. I've been working in the sun all day. There won't be nothing left. My headache's killing me. My headache's killing me. 'Cause I've been working in the sun all day. I've been working in the sun all day. I've been working in the sun all day. They're working me to death. Sun keeps beating down, the sweat beads on my crown, drive me into town before there's nothing left. I'm shaking at the knees, I need some water please, just once won't you please, oh I've been worked to death.
Guys, I want to thank you so much for being here. You play fantastic music. So, Zach, you're a Magic player?
Yeah, man. I used to play Magic, yeah.
And do you think the audience can tell that we recorded this conversation on a different day?
Oh yeah, dude. Yeah, I like EDH. That's a fun way to play the game.
Because honestly, I can't remember anything that I asked you when we shot this.
Oh, I played a blue-black infect deck.
Well, that's spectacular. So you guys have one more tune that you're going to play for us?
Yeah.
What's it called?
It's called Beer and Money.
To take us out, one more time, Canaan's Able Brothers.
I'm stuck at work again.
on a Friday afternoon, watching time click by. Gonna be done soon. When I'm finally free, you know what I would do. Hit the bar and grab a pint. The old work week is through. I got beer, beer money. Oh, won't you join me, honey? I got beer and beer money. Best damn thing I know. I got beer and beer money. Pour me another